Hello, world. Hello, world. This segment is about a self proclaimed celebrity who used donations to open a school that never opened. However, you must hear from the horse's mouth about the making of a scammer. Guess who? Subscribe, like, comment. Again, take a listen. I will.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Black World Connect. I'm your host, Fabrice Ominkoy, and today is probably one of the most amazing days I could probably have to be able to have a very, very special guest with me. The guest that I have with me has, done a lot of things around the world and very impactful, incredible Pan-African activist and a psychologist. So without any further ado, I want to introduce the one and only Dr. Umar Johnson. How are you, sir?
Peace and Pan-Africanism. Glad to be here. Shout out to my entire Melbourne, Australia family. One love.
Awesome, awesome. Look, it's incredible to have you here today on the podcast. Honestly, I know that you do a lot of traveling, and first and foremost, I just want to say I really appreciate your time, brother. Just want to kick it off by saying, how has your experience been in Australia? Like, I know I saw your first video when you touched down to Australia. You were in Bondi Beach,
Yes.
and I think you were looking for the brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Yeah, just walk me through. How's your experience been so far since you touched down?
With regard to our people, it has been tremendous. A lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of camaraderie, fellowship. As far as Australia itself, I can really appreciate how do I say this, the convenience of use here in the country. And what I mean by that, your society is a much more patient and a much more accommodating society. So for example, yesterday I was able to get on Wi-Fi for free, outside. You can't do that in the United States. You can do it in the airport, but there's few places where you can get on Wi-Fi for free just walking down the street. So that was kind of amazing. And then also the airport, when I went to fly to Queensland yesterday, I was prepared, to open up my bag and take everything out and take my shoes off, and nobody had to check my plane ticket or my ID, and it was just very smooth, unlike America. So I was like, wow, I would guesstimate that the length of life here is probably longer than in the United States because it just seems a lot more calmer and a lot more peaceful here. I'm sure there's racism. I know there's racism because I know some of the history here, obviously with the extermination or the minimalization of the Aboriginal culture or what have you. But I do kind of like the pace of the society. Maybe America could learn some things, from Australia in terms of the pace. Having been on every other continent, this might have been the smoothest place to actually work and move about. But most importantly for me was the camaraderie, the love, the young people, the messages, the hugs, the photos, the debates. It's really been good because I didn't know what to expect because you guys are so far away from the rest of civilization. So I didn't know what to expect coming. But as I said when I first landed, I anticipated that my first visit would be a memorable one. Every place I've ever been, I can almost remember the first time I went there. My first time in New York, my first time in Chicago, my first time in Paris, my first time in London, my first time in Beijing, my first time in Toronto. You never forget the first. And this is also an experience that I will never forget as well.
That's amazing. You know what? You know what's incredible because I do like the first time I met you was in one of my very close friends' office. Shout out to Jack and Associates. He's a lawyer that's doing incredible things. And one thing I noticed when we stepped downstairs, because you were also coming down too, what was amazing is the amount of love people show you. It's
Yes, sir.
unbelievable. I want to know, how does that feel? Because is this a global thing or is
It is
it just
global.
so? How does it feel for you because of the stuff that you're preaching, and and especially because it is moving around globally, it must be making a massive impact. How does that make you feel?
I would say I appreciate it from the perspective that I want to show our children, and especially young African African men across the diaspora that you can become quote unquote famous, quote unquote successful, if that's what you're looking for. You can become successful and famous without selling your soul. You could become successful and famous by serving the people. You could become successful and famous without becoming an entertainer or an athlete, you know. And so with my example, which in many regards, to be honest with you, was very much unexpected and unanticipated. Like, I never thought my work, you know, would become YouTube famous, if you will.
Yeah.
I never anticipated that with my view. You know, very traditional Pan-Africanist views. I never thought I would be a hit on TikTok. You know, I never even heard of TikTok. So people say, you better get on there because you all over there.
Yeah.
And I get on TikTok and I see even white women and white folks and Asians and Arabs imitating my voice.
Really?
Doing voiceovers and everything.
Wow.
And I said, wow. So that whole social media piece, that was completely the ancestors. Because I'm the most untech person you know. You know, and you realize I don't have a YouTube page.
Yeah. I've noticed. You're always featured on other people's YouTube
so that
channels.
means people are taking it and sharing it. I have no page, you know, so I just appreciate the love. It's really the greatest motivation, like,
That's
because
beautiful.
people don't see the behind the scenes to it. You know, it can get tiring. You know, you got to deal with the hate.
Yeah.
You got to deal with the undermining. You know, there's a lot that come with being Dr. Umar. It's a blessing, but it's also a curse.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you out and about amongst the people and you get an elder who come up to you, just give you a hug out of nowhere and say, keep going, you're my inspiration for still being here.
Wow.
You know, when you get them words from the elders, it hit different because they've been around. They've seen Malcolm and Martin. They've seen Fred and Huey. They've seen them. They've seen Kwame and Nkrumah. They've seen Thomas Sankara. So when the elders come and say something to you like that, it really sticks to you. And I think it's the words of our people that are most responsible for keeping me focused.
Today we come to you with a special message and a request.
I didn't know they would go this far. To ignore us for 4 months and try to sell our schools that we've been working on for 6.5 years behind our backs. So brothers and sisters, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fight like hell to get our money from the bank. We're going to pay off this vacant property registration fee waiver. And we might still have a protest at City Hall because this is wrong, brothers and sisters.
I might gotta start playing some one-on-ones. Who wanna play one-on-one for some donations? Got it. Got it. Get in there. There we go. First shot. Behind his back. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm knocking him down, baby. That's another jump shot. Got